Sirius said he'll start. So he's further. Sirius. Loud and clear so everybody can hear. Okay, this is really important. We have a lot of older senior members here, right? You're not kids anymore. But we have a lot of second gen who you should be thinking about your life of faith. What's going to happen to you later? How are you going to create peace in your family? How are you going to do that? How are you going to have true love? Right? Parental love. I talk about that a lot. Conjugal love, or husband and wife, man and woman love. Filial love, yeah, that's right. Filial love is what? Love of children to parents. Love of children to parents. It's really important, by the way, as you'll hear from this reading.
These three great loves make it possible for people to live forever, transcending even the most elevated view of human love.
Does that make sense? Elevated view of human love, he means like the elevated view of Shakespeare's ideas of love, right? Shakespeare writes stories about love where Romeo and Juliet kill everybody and die in the end. Everybody dies in the end, right? That's like an elevated Anna Karenina, right? That's a sort of a human view of love where it really doesn't work. Or many of the other human stories of love that end up everybody dying or killing themselves or drinking a potion of poison, right? He says this is really better. This idea, this heavenly love, and it's really better for you.
This is why people feel joy when these three great loves are united. When they are fulfilled, happiness is also realized. When they are lacking, misfortune is sad.
Does it make sense? Watch.
The motherless people, well, are motherless people happy?
Motherless people happy? No, it's a really sad experience. Sometimes. I had lived an existence as a motherless child, and I would clearly say I wasn't happy. So next one.
Are fatherless people happy? Fatherless people envy those who have fathers.
Absolutely true, if you ask me. Absolutely 100% true. When I was a kid and my father lived somewhere, my mother lived somewhere else, and I would go to one of my friends' house who had a reasonable, functioning family, I would always envy them. I thought, oh, gosh, why can't I have a mom and dad? Why can't I have a house like that? Tatsu, do you want to read? Hi.
A place where the invisible God and substance of human beings united in the origin. The origin begins with the family, God's family, and the pure parent family. This family has to complete the whole position foundation, which should go through three generations: the grandparent generation, the parent generation, and grandchildren generation. Because of the whole, God was not able to experience the family of three generations. We should establish under those three generations.
So we need to establish a family of 3 generations. We do. Everybody in the room here. What Father's trying to tell you is if you can establish a family of 3 generations, you're going to be happy. Not only are you going to be happy, your kids will be happy, and God himself is going to be happy when you fulfill a family of 3 generations, right? When you are able to do that, if you can do it, and it's hard to do it, believe me, but if you can do it, you'll make everybody happy, including yourself. And if you do that, then you're going to live forever. The 3 great loves make it possible for people to live forever, by the way. That's the secret. Next reader, Calvin.
A family should consist of the parents, the husband and wife, and children. Only then can there be a foundation for happiness. God's purpose in seeking to dwell with humanity is also for his own happiness. God's venturing forth to find a foundation of happiness. Fulfilling his ideal cannot take place apart from human beings.
Right? This is Father climbing in the mountains in the middle of winter, praying in prisons, came to this conclusion. This is what the purpose of life is all about. Any comments? Do you have any comments, Calvin?
Yes, actually, our family has started 100K. During the week, it's been difficult. But
Uh-huh.
we always get together on Saturday.
Ah.
And often we study divine principle.
Great.
Just in the principle of creation.
Uh-huh.
And during the principle of creation, it became really clear God's ideal purpose of
Yeah.
creation is really to have children.
Yeah.
And that relationship between parent and children is so essential
Mm-hmm.
in understanding our purpose of creation
Yeah.
as human beings and as heavenly parents and children.
Yeah. We're going to talk about actually at the workshop. They had several young men give what shall we say, life coaching lessons. One of them was David Young. Anybody know David Young? Second gen, half Chinese, half African American. Speaks Chinese fluently, speaks English fluently. He's just got a degree in whatever. Super smart kid. And he made a diagram. And then walked us through how he teaches people about life. And he says he's a business coach, not just a unificationist, but he uses the four-position foundation. He said in the four-position foundation, he says, you, whoever you are, is at this spot, right? Then you're going to have give and take with something. You have to have give and take to stay alive. And he says, what's it centered on? What's your give and take centered on? And he asked a couple of kids to stand up, and he gave them, how do you feel today? I felt miserable. I felt terrible. Why do you feel miserable or terrible? And he said, because this reason or that reason, school is stressful, et cetera, et cetera. And he said he felt really terrible. By the way, I've asked David Young, and you'll hear from Justin Okamoto in a second, to come and give workshops in San Diego. They said they'd be happy to, so we'll get those guys to come and teach us. They have great programs, by the way. And then he explained to the kid, what's your problem? I feel stressed over school. I feel stressed over all these things, et cetera, et cetera. And he says, what are you centered on? He explained to him. And then the kid said, well, you know what? I'm getting a degree in world diplomacy. My parents were missionaries somewhere else, and I wanted to create a program whereby I could help bring peace to the world. And he said, why would you do that? And he explained to him, that's God's perspective. You're following God's perspective. If you make God the center, and your goal the center of your give and take action with the stress of school, and he went talking through this whole thing, and then he felt really good about it. He felt, you know what, wait a second, now I feel better. I realize I'm following my dream, my passion, my goal, and these stresses are necessary, but they're just a small bump in the road compared to what I'm going to do for my life. So what Calvin said makes sense to me. If every day you do something centered on the divine principle, you understand why you're loving your children, why you're loving your wife, why you're loving your husband. If every day you understand this is the purpose of my life and this is centered on God, I'm cooking breakfast for my husband centered on God, or I'm combing my wife's hair, whatever in the world you're doing, that's centered on God, you're going to feel really good about it. And that's exactly what began to happen. People's idea of centering your activity on God makes it so you can do those activities without pain or struggle. Anyhow, so I thought I highly recommend that. Principle of creation, as I've said many times, is a cornerstone of everything we're doing. All the restoration history is centered on principle of creation. Learn the principle of creation, grow through the principle of creation, and develop through the principle of creation. Anyway, so this is what God's doing. When God creates, God is venturing forth to find a foundation of happiness. Fulfilling his ideal cannot take place apart from you, from his human being children, his children. And because you know the divine principle, you're the core, you're the hope, you're the cornerstone of God's happiness. Next reader.
Ideal relationships between the grandfather and grandmother, husband and wife, and brothers and sisters lead to success and prosperity. Nonetheless, the grandmother and grandfather should not love only each other.
No.
Husband and wife should not love only each other, and brothers and sisters should not love only each other. Grandmother and son, son and son, daughter-in-law and son, vertically and horizontally, front and back, right and left, everyone should be in harmony.
right? Big goal, right? Giant goal. For those of us who are married, boy, that's a giant goal. How do we accomplish that?
In the Orient, we have an expression, family harmony makes all go well. It means that if you want peace, you have to base it on love. This principle applies to the universe, to the east and west and everywhere. Would you like to live in a home for the elderly? I do not like such places anywhere the parents go, the children should follow. The whole family needs to follow.
Ideally, that's how we live. 3 generations. 3 generations living together. Next reader.
If someone who loves you very much helps you by giving you $1,000, you would not want to pay a reduced amount, such as $900. Rather, you would want to repay it many times over. The original mind is like that. What does this reveal? It reveals that actions based on original love produce an output that is greater than the input. This logic is viable. Since we say family harmony makes all go well, we need to act on that principle. The more you harmonize and love, and the more you invest in loving, nothing gets smaller. Everything becomes bigger.
Do you know why Father said that? Well, anyway, any comments or questions? Do you think that's good, bad, interesting? Interesting. I'll tell you why I think Father says that. First law of thermodynamics. Anybody remember the first law of thermodynamics? No, that's the second law of thermodynamics. What's the first law? Anybody know the third law? It's good. There's no third law, by the way. There's only 2. But the first law says you cannot get more out of a machine. You can't get more energy out of a machine than you put into a machine. Reverend Moon has a degree in electrical engineering from Waseda University. Did he know that? Of course he knew that. Yeah, he taught people that. He's a genius. But he says, listen, in human life, it's not the same. In a machine, you can't get more energy out of a machine than you put in. But in human life, yes, you can get more love by investing in love. You can get more love out of life. You can grow your love. So here's what I think Father's saying about this. I think he's saying if you grew up as a little child and your parents loved you and loved you and loved you and loved you, then should you just say goodbye to them later on? No, you should love them back. More than if they gave you $1,000 worth of love, you should give them $2,000 worth of love back. Make sense? That's what he's saying. It should be automatic. It should be automatic that you want to take care of your parents. Right? It should be automatic that you want to give back to people who've loved you and have given whatever to you. Make sense? Father, I think, does have an original mind, and he can't understand not giving back. He couldn't comprehend not giving back. He couldn't comprehend the idea. You ever go to, how many people have gone to dinner here with a Korean? How many of you have paid the meal? Koreans never let you pay for the meal. Never. They will wrestle and fight you, and they will grab the waiter. They'll do any trick so that you cannot, so they are not indebted to you. Right? That's absolute Korean tradition. If you go to dinner with a Korean, they're going to pay the bill, or unless you fight with them, right? So, of course, me be me. I would fight with them sometimes. I would pay the bill. I would sneak it just to be different. Anyhow, the point being, the whole Korean idea is, I cannot be indebted to you. If you bought me a dinner for $100, I have to buy you a dinner for $200. Absolute Korean ideology. So when Father says this, he absolutely, strongly, and completely believes it because it's Korean tradition. Next reader.
When we say that family harmony makes all go well, we need to realize that harmony requires patience. We will likely go through many difficulties. The one who can deal well with such difficulties will become the central figure, the responsible person. A true man does not change, and a true woman does not change either. When an absolutely unchanging man and woman appear, focused on true love, the whole universe will bow down to this couple.
Amen. Okay. Any comments? It's just us members here. Any comments? See, I would accentuate that we will likely go through many difficulties. You'll likely go through, Father's not Pollyannish. right? You remember the movie Pollyanna? She was a little girl who just believed everything's roses and rainbows, and because she believed, then all problems disappeared. Father's not Pollyannish in understanding what we're going through to create 3 generations in one home. He's saying, look, I know it's difficult. I understand it's difficult. It requires patience, and it requires an unchanging attitude. An unchanging attitude towards what is your goal in life. An unchanging attitude no matter what, right? That's what we learn from True Father, right? Hoongjinam dies. His father changes attitude? No, he offers Hoongjinam to God. All kinds of things happen to Father, and he never changes attitude, right? No matter what. He was up in the morning to pray to God, do Handa Kwe. He was in the hospital. Gather everybody to do Handa Kwe right now, right? What kind of man is that? He's a person who will never change. And he's trying to teach us to be people who don't change as well. Okay, so then I thought, this is me. And after hearing that lesson, we read this lesson for the Handa Kwe for the whole group, and it made me really think about who we are, what we are, and where we are. And I'll try to explain this. I hope this will give you some hope. For example, we would say that what? Where are we now? Who are we now? Right? Us first gen believe we're first gen, right? So we have to go to history. Look at, okay? First, okay, we're part of this group of people restoring history. This is from the Divine Principle Book of Resurrection. It goes like this. First, in the history of the providence and resurrection, the figures who took charge of certain responsibilities in their respective missions, though they could not fully carry out their portions of responsibility, loyally offered their best for the sake of God's will. Honestly, I think that's who we are, right? We thought, many first gen, we thought by 1981 we'd live in the kingdom of heaven, right? Second gen weren't born then, so you didn't have that idea. But we thought, but then we discovered, it's harder than it looks. It's harder than we thought, right? It's harder than we thought. Same for Abraham, same for all those guys. But you are willing to carry out your portion of responsibility for God's sake at the best of your ability. That's what we're looking for. That's what God's looking for in you. For the best of your ability to accomplish this, right? It says they were able, based upon, in proportion to their accomplishments, they were able to broaden the base on which fallen men could open their relationship to God. As time goes by, people of succeeding generations can enjoy more benefit from their ages according to the providence of restoration. The providence of resurrection, therefore, is carried out according to the benefits of the age. And all of us, regardless of where we are in the case of restoration, at least, we're offering our best. We're loyally offering our best for the sake of God's will. It will count. This will count enormously for the future of mankind, for your descendants, for your ancestors in the spirit world. If you're fulfilling your responsibility loyally, offering your best for God's providence, be proud of that. Be proud of it. Hold it. Take it. Keep it. Tell God what you're doing. I'm loyally, Father God, here's my situation. Tough situation, but you know what? I'm doing my best for your sake and mankind's sake. Receive my offering. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whenever you are, do your best for the sake of God. And God will accept it, believe me. So, we say Adam and Eve should have grown in God's love. They should have grown in God's love, right? Receiving life elements of love and truth directly from God and Adam and Eve, right? Then they would grow to maturity with God. Then God would have blessed them in marriage by God. They would have given birth to children. God would have been in position of grandparents to his own grandchildren. Who's nicer to the children, generally speaking? Grandchildren or parents? Grandparents or parents? Generally, grandparents spoil the heck out of your kids, right? Grandparents love to spoil. I always tell the story of my dad, who always, no matter what, would read stories to Hannah or Lucas, push him in the stroller around the block, however many times he wanted to go, always sneak them candy. Grandpa had a drawer full of secret candy that he would give them, even though their mother told him, no more candy, Grandpa. He would still have to sneak them candy, right? Beautiful stories. Father always says that's the grandfather God wanted to be. That's who God wanted to be to Cain and Abel. He wanted to be a grandfather with a drawer full of candy for them. That he would give them candy and they would grow in love and God would answer their every single question. Their every question, God himself, oh, you want to know why the sun rises in the east? I know, because I created it. God would wanted to be that kind of grandparent. But because of the fall of man, God couldn't be. So if that had happened, then the grandchildren would have received love and truth from God and the true parents, Adam and Eve. And Cain and Abel wouldn't have hated each other. If they would, Adam and Eve would have taught them how to not hate each other. That's the big key, isn't it, right? And they would have lived in a rich spiritual atmosphere called the Garden of Eden. A rich spiritual atmosphere, and there would have been peace and harmony on earth. So where are we now, right? We all know we're not living in the Garden of Eden, so what are we trying to accomplish in our life of faith? If they had succeeded in this, then they would have had children who would have had true grandparents centered on God, true parents and true uncles and aunts, a hugely rich spiritual atmosphere. This is what we're trying to accomplish. This is what we're trying to make. And this is for all the second gen or juniors in the room. This is what you should hope to make in your life. With your other second gen friends, with first generation blessed couples should be the uncles and aunts, grandparents to your children. Then your children will grow up in a tribe or atmosphere, a rich spiritual atmosphere of true love. Right? Where no one would hurt them, when there'd be many uncles and aunts to take care of your children. Right? Where everyone would be praying for them, wanting them to do well, praying for them to do well, taking care of them, right? That's how it's supposed to be. That's what we're trying to accomplish. So we understand in our times, true parents and first gen went through the wilderness course due to the rejection of truth followed by mainstream Christianity. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. Mainstream Christianity rejected true father. True father had to go to the wilderness course where he couldn't just make a sweet, peaceful place, and he could be the great grandfather who just loves everybody. Even though he wished he could do that, he had to be the general, the Moses, marching across the desert, ordering us to fight communism and do all kinds of things that we did. However, now we are in the age of settlement and tribal Messiah. We're not marching through the desert anymore. Your goal now is to take care of your spouse, take care of your children, and take care of first gen. So our goal now is to feed our children and grandchildren life elements of love and truth to the point where third generation can grow to maturity. Third generation should be different than all of us in the room, right? They should be different, and believe me, they will be different. Trust history. Okay. And allow the full blessing of God upon the fourth generation. And I'll show you how this works, right? Abraham and Sarah were like first generation in their time period, right? First generation, Adam and Sarah received the blessing, but it's a sad emoticon. Sad face. How come? Abraham and Sarah has to go to Pharaoh's palace, to King Abimelech's palace. They have a big problem with Hagar and Ishmael. Mostly their life was a miserable, suffering course, even though we say they got the blessing, right? Even though we say they got the blessing, if you read about Abraham and Sarah, it's all about misery and suffering. Okay, next. How about their second generation? Isaac is the second generation of Rebekah. Actually, if you read the biblical story, they had a great love life. They actually loved each other. One of the few couples in all of the Bible where Rebekah loved him and he loved her, and they had two nice kids who tried to kill each other. Right? But they had actually, Isaac's life and Rebekah's life was pretty good life, actually. They received all the blessings of Abraham, his livestock. They were wealthier, were good heirs, and they had a reasonable life. How about Jacob and Esau? It's true they had to overcome Cain and Abel's situation, but look, what happened? Both of them became very rich. Right? Both Esau, when Jacob wanted to give all his things to Esau, what did Esau say? No, look, I have plenty of everything. I don't need your things. They became very rich, right? Both of them with many children. Between the two of them, they had children everywhere. Right? Okay, this is third generation, right? This is third generation. What about the fourth generation? What happened to the fourth generation? John Kenny, what happened to the fourth generation? John. What? Fourth generation. What happened to the fourth generation? Who's the fourth? Who's Jacob's famous son? Okay, look at fourth generation, Joseph. Generation from Abraham becomes the second richest, most powerful man in the world. In the whole world. Fourth generation from Abraham. Why? This is not about Abraham. It's not even about Jacob and Esau. It's not even about Joseph. It's about God's promise of his blessings. He will never forget you. All you first gen who sacrificed, went in the wilderness course with true father, believe me, God is going to bless your children because God never forgets. That's why you have to hold on to your sacrifice. All that effort you made, all the sacrifice you made, you shouldn't be upset about it. You should hold on to it. Say, God, I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that. And then I did more of it. Right? You hold on to it like it's a huge, precious treasure of your life. And you report it to God. Remember God when? Remember God when this happened to me and I was loyal? You remember, you hold on to your foundation of faith like it's the greatest treasure in your life. You did that. And it can never be taken away from you. Right? So it's the same with Jesus' family, right? Jesus himself was blessed by God, but a pretty miserable life, right? No home, no family. Everyone thought he was crazy. They finally killed him in the end. So Jesus should have a sad-faced emoticon next to him, right? But third, fourth, fifth generations from Jesus, they took over all of Rome. All the wealth of Rome belonged to the Christians, didn't it? I'm trying to teach you that it will be the same with Martin Luther's descendants. Martin Luther's fighting it out with the Catholics, but the Presbyterian Protestant churches took over the world. And I'm telling you, it's the same with true parents. Smiley-faced emoticon. Have faith. God isn't going to forget you. God's not going to forget. God's going to love you, and he's going to bless your third and fourth generation beyond your imagination. So that's why I say you have to know not only where we are, but when we are. When we are. You have to know when we are. And don't lose faith. Don't lose faith in God's blessing. Okay, this is a lesson from young adults at the Fusion Workshop. Anybody know Justin Okamoto? Anybody know Kazuka Okamoto? This is there at the Blessing, and here's him. This is Justin Okamoto now. That's him then. This is him now, right? So he gave this sermon or this speech or this, whatever you want to call it. It says, Creating Personal Intentions by Justin Okamoto. He says, a guided process to generate commitment and intention in your life. A lesson from a young adult at the Fusion Workshop. Intention. What does it mean? To live a life with intent and purpose. To live your life intentionally going in a specific direction, continually doing things that allow you to reach your goal. What's our goal? Kingdom of Heaven. You can say the Kingdom of Heaven. What's the road then to the Kingdom of Heaven? 3 generations of family living together. 3, even though it's obstacles, if you're intent on that, and if you have intention to accomplish that, when obstacles come, you can overcome. So long as that remains your intent. That's my intent. That's what I'm going to do. Yes, this happened, and yes, that happened, and yes, this happened, and that happened, and then more of that came about. Nevertheless, my intention is this, and God, I will loyally accomplish your will no matter what. So here's what it says. This is from Alice in Wonderland. Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here? Asked Alice. That depends a good deal on where you want to go, said the cat. I don't care much where I go. Then the cat said, then it doesn't matter which way you go, does it? Right? Most human beings on earth live lives without intentionality. We just work. We do this, we do that, we go here. We don't know where we're going really, honestly, right? So he gave a lecture on intentionality. He said we should have intention. Intentionality is the act of knowing where you want to go in life, in business, in your art, etc., and having a clear plan on how to get there. That doesn't mean that plan doesn't change. And plan probably will change. But you have to have an intent to your life. What do you want from your life? What do you want out of this life? And then you have an intent to get there from here, right? He says, be intentional about, one, your passion in life. They talked a lot about this at the workshop. What is your passion in life? What do you want to own out of this life? What do you want out of your life? And how are you going to fulfill that passion, right? It says, do you have a passion to accomplish in your life on earth with specific goals, specific objectives, and parameters of success? How do you know you're going to get there if you don't know where you're going? You might already be there. Just kidding. It says, then have you written it down? Have you written it down? Then they did this lesson where we try to write down our passion. Think about your passion. Think about your goals in life. What do you want to accomplish? What do you need? Right? Then he says, listen, okay, if you have a passion or a goal, do you have the tools to get there? Whatever it is, you want to be a millionaire, you want to be happily married, you want to be a grandparent, whatever you want to be, do you have the tools to get there? He says, where are you going to find your tools? You have to have tools, right? He says, what classes are you going to take? If you have a goal to get somewhere and you're over here and you want to be there, how are you going to learn how to get to your place? Right? He says, how many how-to YouTube and Vimeo videos will you watch? Okay, this is the second gen. That's how they learn stuff, right? They don't read books. Book? What's a book? Yeah. Anyhow, the point is, who are your sources? Who are your mentors? Who are you learning from to get to where you want to go, to your passion in life? It could be art. It could be many things, right? We think the passion in life is family, but there's other things in your life. He says, how many tutorials will you invest in? Will you invest in learning how to be a good husband? Will you invest in learning how to be a good wife? Will you invest in learning how to be a good parent? Will you invest in learning how to be a great grandparent? Will you invest in learning how to do whatever the things you want to do? What mentors? Who is your teacher going to be? Right? What personal projects will you do to push your craft forward and continue to learn? What are you doing? If you have a passion, you need to know your passion, or 10 years from now, you might still be in the same place or in a worse place. What's your passion? You have to find it, and you have to focus it. You have to write it down and figure out goals and objectives to accomplish your passion, right? How about your faith? Are you reading whatever you should be reading? Are you praying? Are you fellowshipping with fellow followers and believers? It says your family. Are you carving out times of the week to spend time with your spouse and or with your children? Are you having date nights with your spouse? Are you teaching your children to be the kind of men and women you want them to be? Do you know their friends? Do you know what their interests are? He says, look, if your goal is to have a family, then do you know about your children? Do you even know them? Your health, what foods you're eating every day, how much water are you drinking? Are you getting periodic checkups at the doctor and dentist? Do you exercise? Do you get enough sleep? To become great grandparents, and that should be one of our deep passions, and create a three-generation family, you have to stay in shape. By the way, True Mother is. Right? True Mother said during the 3 years of mourning after Father's passing, she's now exercising, walking every morning, and what's that dance she's doing? No, it's called jump, something like that. Mother's trying to tell us, stay healthy. Stay healthy, stay sharp. Don't let your physical health be a problem. Walk, exercise, go to the doctor, go to the dentist, do the things you need to grow in health and strength. Your future, do you have a retirement account? How much are you putting in each month? Are you saving every month? Are you aggressively working to pay off your debt? What are you doing? To be a great grandparent, if you're just going to be broke, might not make you a great grandparent. You want to be able to focus on taking care of your grandchildren and having that drawer full of candy, right? You want to have a drawer full of candy for your grandkids, so they want to be with you. Kids always would like to sneak into Grandpa's room, get candy. Grandpa knew where it was at, right? And are you doing something to make you happy? Are you doing something that makes your life worth living? Some hobby, some art, some reading, some activity, some person you're with, some friendship, some goal, some aspect of nature, something you're doing that allows you to be happy. Because if you're not happy, what's your life worth? You might think it's not worth anything. If I'm not happy, you got to find something to make you happy, right? And then this was the last bit. This was by Mark Boitano. Mark Boitano, yeah, obviously a senior. Obviously very senior. Anyhow, this was his program. He gave a talk on core principles to build a project with no budget or paid staff. And he talked about how did they build this program. There was like 120 people there. So how do we do this? There's no budget from headquarters. There isn't anything going on, right? So we just did it ourselves. So he said, first thing is you have to identify your passion. For him, Mark Anderson, a few others said their passion is that our church grows and develops, our old and young people grow and develop healthfully, wealthfully, and I forgot what the third one was. Okay, yeah, I'll take that. Anyhow, they decided that's their passion. How are they going to do it? So they would get together, they would pray about it. This is our passion. Right? They said this. They said they realized in the old days, True Father would tell us what to do. We would say, what's my mission? I don't know. Father told me to be in sales, so I'm selling machinery, right? Father told me to sell fish, so I'm selling fish, whatever. He said, look, that's not going to happen anymore. True Father said, you're now the owner of your Chung Il Guk life. You're the owner. You have to figure out your passion. He said, for too long we were waiting. Too long we were waiting to figure out our passion, and finally we discovered what our passion was. So he said, what? First thing to identify your passion. How do you identify your passion? First, find a need. Either your need, your family's need, the society's need. Find a need, right? For example, let's say a 3-generation family for the happiness of God in your family is your passion. It's one of my major passions in life, right? Maybe it's yours. I don't know. What's your passion? You have to decide that, right? Then he says identify a strong, committed team with a broad range of skill sets, right? So your team could be alive, might not be, right? For example, my team for raising my family, my wife. Grandpa helps us. And, by the way, I get books on how to raise boys, how to take care of children. I read tons of stuff on understanding all these things. You know, I'm a huge advocate of attachment or a bonded parenting. I do all those things that they say to do. I learn and I think it's real, really works. Who's your mentor? Who are you going to learn from? Right? I learn from those kinds of experts, right? So who's your team? If you're here in San Diego, could be members of San Diego Church family. By the way, they made many national teams when they were there. Let's see if I wrote them down. Okay, several teams are made at the workshop. For example, they made a Tribal Messiah team, and it's national. And you can call them. You can go to the Fusion website, find out get on the email list. And if you want to learn and discuss with brothers and sisters who want to be Tribal Messiahs, you can join the National Tribal Messiah team. There's a witnessing team who the boss is Christine Froelich and Jerry Servito. If you want to be on the witnessing team and discuss with them ideas and goals, then you can be with Christine Froelich. There's a Make Your First Million team. Ray Martin's in charge of that. He's just in LA. And by the way, I think Paul Stefan is on that team, right? Is that what you call it? Anyway, your name was on the list. So just to let you know, they're putting your name on the list. Anyhow, so if you want to learn how to invest, Ray Martin said, if you want to learn how to invest for retirement or invest so you can retire at 50, get on Ray Martin's team. There's a politics team, right, which was sort of like iffy. Saving the Nation team are led by Mark Anderson. You want to be into politics and discuss. Mark Anderson was a real state representative to Arizona. Mark Boitano is on that team, who is a senator in Wyoming to the state legislature. Where is it? Oh, New Mexico, sorry. One of those states in the middle of nowhere. Does it really make a difference? Just kidding, Mark Boitano and New Mexicans and New Mexican people. Anyhow, the point is, you can find people who share your same passion. That's the idea. Who can help you on the journey. Have give and take action. Yeah, I'm going to try this week. I'm going to try that this week. I did try that. Didn't work. Don't do it. Whatever you do, don't do that. Right? You can have somebody have give and take with to help you in your passion. That's really important, that you have give and take with other people who are like-minded to you. Don't join a negativity team. People who complain a lot or have complaints a lot, or I can't stand this or that, or I hate Coca-Cola, or whatever it is. Don't join a complaining team. Yeah, a gripe team. Join a positive team with positive goals that fulfill your passion. right? 3, create your own mission and vision statement and goal. What's your vision statement or goal for your family, for example, or for your financial future, or make it visual for you, that you can think, I really want to do this, and then live a life of intention to accomplish it. Live a life of intention to accomplish your mission and vision statement, right? So these are all, I thought, very practical and good ideas. I'll invite David Young and these guys here to San Diego to give a workshop. I already asked them. They said probably in the summertime because they're busy with school and carp and whatever they're doing. And they all have kids now. So I asked them, please come to San Diego. They said yes, they would. Still got to work it out. So that's my passion. Okay, 4, establish good communication with your team. Have give and take action with people with the same vision as you. Whether it's from a book, I get the ideas from books or whatever, or movies or YouTube videos, or real human beings in your vicinity. Or people you call on the phone or email or go on Zoom with, whatever you do, right? Establish good communication with your team, right? Establish clear roles and responsibilities and feedback. So if you say you're going to do something, how are you going to know if you did it or not? Does anybody care? Right? Like, for example, in my business life, I have a list that I make every doggone day. And it says, okay, this week I think I'm going to try and sell this machine to this guy. And then the next day I write, it's on the doggone list. Did I call that guy? Did I send him this? It makes you responsible and intentional in your daily activities. That's my intention. For my intention, feed my family, sell machines, make money, feed my family. Then how do I sell machines? There has to be a method of doing that. So then I make myself responsible to plans and goals, right? So try to do that. Create consistent action. And last one, have fun. Have some fun while you're doing all these things, right? For example, if you want to be something, let's say you want to be whatever, a world-class guitar player, you're going to spend long hours practicing that guitar and getting blisters on your fingers, right? Now, if you have no goal, getting blisters on your finger, I think it's a stupid activity. It hurts. My fingers hurt. I can't pick up my fork. It's terrible. But if your goal is to become a world-famous guitarist, then when you get those blisters on your finger, you think, I'm growing. I'm practicing. It makes sense to get blisters on my fingers. I want blisters on all my fingers because that will be a sign that I'm growing. You see the difference? If you have intention, the struggles and overcoming obstacles in your daily life now become landmarks of pride and victory, not just points to complain about. Not just points to complain about. You spend long, like my kids spend, Hannah spends long hours studying biology or whatever she's studying. If she has no intention or goal, then why do I have to study this? The reason I study is because I want to be a doctor someday and save people's lives. If you have a goal, then those obstacles, the pains, the suffering along the path don't mean anything to you, right? Same with your family. Same with loving your husband, and same with loving your spouse, your wife. When you're struggling with your wife or spouse, if you have an intention and a goal, then those struggles won't seem like such a big struggle. It's just a landmark on your way to the kingdom of heaven. Amen? Amen. God bless you. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you like that. And I hope you live a life of intention.